What's up, comic book fans, and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me, and today we got more Fall of the House of X, this time by way of the Invincible Iron Man, issue number 14. Now, just to catch you up on what Iron Man's been working on, he and his new wife, Emma Frost, have gained access to a new indestructible mutant metal called Mysterium. But with all the eyes on Stark, he needs help in both hiding the metal as well as forging it into a new armada. So he enlists the help of Eros, aka Star Fox, Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, and X-Men. Stark then gets a couple of the Skrull to act as both he and Emma while traveling into space with Star Fox to retrieve his new Mysterium metal, while simultaneously sending Riri off-world elsewhere with the designs of how he wants this new armada of ships to be forged out of the Mysterium. So when Star Fox helps Stark get this new metal, Stark then keeps enough for himself so he can build his new Mark 72 armor, while sending the rest to meet up with Riri at the home of the Dwarf Smiths of Nivellir. But while Riri was en route, she meets up with Forge from the X-Men, who joins her on this quest, but then they're met by a gigantic dragon flying through space who intercepts them because of the Mandarin rings that Riri has been in possession of. And the dragon tells her that he could smell the trapped souls of his brethren in those rings, which of course brings us to this issue. So if y'all are ready to see how Riri gets out of this jam and what happens with this new Mysterium, y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. So when this issue kicks off, we get Tony Stark, who's having a dream about getting his ass handed to him by Magneto, who in this dream is able to take a part of his new bleeding edge armor and forge it into a spear, stab Tony Stark with it. And then he ends up waking up from this dream and tells us how he spent months developing countermeasures to Magneto and designing the technology to protect himself. But now that new technology is being used against innocents in the case of these Stark Sentinels. So then we see Emma Frost, who also gets up because of the nightmare that Tony Stark was having, and she offers to use her telepathy to make Stark forget about it, but he doesn't want that. So then she takes off her robe and tells him that she has other ways of making a man forget his troubles. But then Stark tells her that when this whole situation is over with, that he wouldn't mind finding a way to try and figure them out as a couple. But she tells him that she's seen the plans inside of his mind and she doesn't really think he's gonna make it out, although she feels like she will. So then, of course, they get down and dirty. Tony Stark gets real frosty, if you know what I mean. And then that's when we transition over to deep space with Riri and Forge and this big-ass dragon that stopped them in the middle of space. And then this is where the dragon is telling Riri that she don't really understand of those rings that she's wielding as weapons. Tells her that they're not rings of power, they're rings of tragedy. That he knows well that those rings exploit the spirits of his brethren. That he tells her to listen to his words or suffer the consequences. And Riri, she's got those rings, so she ain't scared of nobody. She ready for the smoke, so she tries to sass him back. Before just like, no, calm down, we listening. Then it's when the dragon tells her that you misunderstand. You don't have anything to fear from me. The danger lies within you. Even the purest of hearts will compromise in the darkest of days. You have 10 curses on you, and they cannot be cleansed. And with that, the dragon bounces up out of there after giving that warning, tells her to be at peace. Then we get Riri looking at those 10 rings, and she says to Forge that she knew those rings were alien artifacts, but she didn't know they were ghosts. Then she tells Forge about the mission that she's got to build a great machine out of the Mysterium. So Forge goes with her and they travel to the home of the Dwarf Smiths in Nivellir. When they get there, they thank the Dwarfs for their hospitality. The Dwarfs tell them that they don't really think they'll be able to build their ships because their forges have been heavily damaged by carnage. So this is when Riri and Forge tells them that they can help fix the Dwarfs' machines and get it cracking on building this new armada. Then tells them if they can get those forges up and running, then they can have their ships and the Dwarfs will take the little bit of Mysterium that Riri offers them as payment. So they get to work while Forge works on building a machine to build other machines. Riri goes to work on repairing the structure. So then we fast forward to many days later, and these new ships have been completed. We now have a Mysterium armada of ships ready for action. But that's when the dwarves decide to turn on Riri and Forge. And they figure they're going to take all of it for themselves and go to attack. But Riri has these 10 rings, these Mandarin rings, and she ready for action. So she fights back and she puts a whooping on these dwarves. Meanwhile, as another dwarf is attacking Forge, Forge tells him to get back because he's got an automatic leg defense. And once that dwarf gets close, that leg activates because he tells him it has a mind of its own and he trained it with all of the best forms of defense. So yeah, his automatic leg kicks the shit out of one of these dwarves. Then we see Riri, who's gone full psycho with the power of these Mandarin rings, and she's about to send these dwarves off into the void, but Forge is able to calm her down and stop her. So now the dwarves, they ask for mercy and they run the hell up out of there. And now Riri is realizing that these rings are something totally different, and the fact that she's not scared anymore is what actually does scare her. So a little while later, Forge comes up with the idea to send these rings out with his sextant, and that's exactly what they do. Riri lets go of the rings, and this ship sends them all out in different places throughout the cosmos. And Riri just hopes that they don't end up back in some evil hands. So then they get back to finishing up on their armada, and then we see it. We see all of the ships as they then fly off to Araco, and the plan is to load up all the mutants there for their invasion of Earth. But before they headed off to Earth, they made sure those ships landed right in full view of Orchis' satellites. They wanted Orchis to see them coming. So then we transition over to Orchis, and we see Nimrod and Fei Long and Omega Sentinel, Dr. Stasis, and Moira X, as we also see Firestar, and now she's giving them the message that we saw Tony Stark give her in the previous issue of X-Men number 30. She tells them that she has a secret line of dialogue with the mutant resistance on Earth, and she took credit for something Mystique did, which was freeing the Juggernaut, so she has their trust. And she tells them that Stark has been playing possum, and he's designed ships capable of withstanding their capital guns on Venus, the Earth, and the Moon. And when he gets through their defenses, he's gonna end up on the Australian outback, because they figure that this location will minimize collateral damage. So, of course, Fei Long takes the bait, and he says that when Stark ships arrive in the outback, every sentinel on Earth is gonna be waiting for them. Then if he doesn't join in as an official mascot, then he'll make him watch his boy Rhodey die, and then he'll trap him inside of his armor with full life support just to see how long he lasts. Moira, of course, doesn't agree with Fei Long's plan, and she tells them that no reason to tempt fate, that Fei Long is prideful and Stark is dangerous. And she tells Nimrod to handle that business. So Nimrod then looks at this Orchis version of Wolverine that they've gotten from Krakoa and tells him, "You heard Moira. Kill Fei Long's pet Avenger." And as we see, while Tony Stark is working on this Mark 72 armor, he's absolutely gonna need it because he's got hell coming his way by way of the Adamantium claws of Orchis. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the issue. Ooh, buddy, I definitely can't wait for issue number 15. Seems like we about to have us a major battle with Iron Man's new Mark 72 armor against this Orchis version of Wolverine. Sheesh. Will Tony Stark make it out? Man, stay tuned. And ladies and gentlemen, y'all get in those comments and tell me what y'all thought about this issue and whether or not Tony Stark's gonna get past these adamantium claws of Orchis. And if you like the channel, you like the video, show your boy some love and drop a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, man, for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm out this thing. Peace.